everybody, I am ARMR, and what I watched today is Book 2, Chapter 20 of Avatar The Last Airbender, Crossroads of Destiny. We open up the season finale with Aang and Sokka meeting up with Toph, and then we move straight to Azula giving a speech to the Dai Li about their plan to overthrow the government. She is very scary in this scene. Like, she has this natural, just terrifying charisma about her. And, you know, Dai Li and May are just like, great job, Azula. Great speech. It's hard to tell sometimes whether they're afraid of her or they just genuinely like her. It's one of those kind of like, you know, it's just really hard to tell, partly because of how their society is structured and their history with her. You're kind of like, are they just scared of Azula, or do they genuinely think of her as someone nice? To them, anyway. Then we get a quick moment of Zuko and Iroh entering the palace, followed by Aang lying to his friends about whether or not he's mastered the Avatar state. Come on, Aang. Lying about yourself is what blocks up one of your chakras. If you're gonna have any hope of, like, completing your training, you gotta not do that. Duh. And then we go right back to Zuko and Iroh starting to serve tea for the Earth King. But it turns out it's a trap. It's an ambush by Azula to capture them, and, you know, the Dai Li are there to help her. We now see why Iroh is called the Dragon of the West, as he drinks some tea and just sprays fire around the room. Which is pretty awesome. Like, it is a cool-looking move. And then they make their escape. Iroh gets out, but Zuko declares he's tired of running, and he turns around to face Azula. But Azula, being a little cheap, just sort of, you know, brushes off his challenge and has her Dai Li catch him, restrain him. I'd say dick move, but come on, it's really an Azula move by this point, and we should have seen it coming, or at least, you know, Zuko should have. The Earth King is under the impression that Katara is fine, as she's off with the Kyoshi warriors. And, like, you know, so Aang and company are like, oh, maybe Katara isn't in trouble. We'll go check out our apartment. And then we see, like, for a moment that Katara's down in this crystal cavern, and Zuko is thrown down there with her. So it seems like the Dai Li are sort of using this right now as, like, a secret holding area where the king and the others won't find them. Aang and company reach their apartment and find that Katara definitely isn't there. So now they're being a little more like, whoa, maybe she is in real trouble. There's a knock at the door, and Toph, knowing Iroh, like, you know, sensing him through the door, is like, oh, hey, I know this guy. He's an old friend. Opens the door. I love the other two's reaction. Like, Sokka and Aang's reaction to seeing Iroh, they're like, what? And Toph is like, what? This is my friend. Because, you know, it's like, and she's, like, completely open to this because the only time she's met Iroh, he gave her tea and gave her great advice that helped her, like, go back to the Avatar and friends. And, you know, he's been a nice guy to her. I honestly don't remember Sokka and Aang having direct interactions with Iroh before, but from their reactions, I'm guessing they did, and I'm just not remembering it very well. But, you know, it's like they come to the conclusion that, you know, since Iroh needs their help and they kind of need Iroh's help, they'll work together for now. And Iroh, you know, is trying to assure them Zuko is changing. He's not the same guy he was before. He's a way nicer guy, and, you know, they're kind of reluctant to believe that, but they're kind of like, you know what, to help Katara, we'll work with you for now. Turns out, Iroh has a Dai Li that he captured that they can question. They get everything they need out of him, Katara's location, and that the Dai Li are moving on, and the Dai Li are starting to move. And then we move on to the Dai Li reporting to Long Feng, and Feng seems to have an inclination from this report that Azula isn't as weak as he thought. That she's actually starting to wrest control of the Dai Li from him. And then we go back to the Crystal Caves, and Katara is giving Zuko a verbal beatdown for how much of a jerk he's being. You know, it's like saying she isn't surprised he wants to take away the Avatar, the world's last hope for peace. After all, he's the Fire Lord's son. He, you know, it's like he wants to spread war and pain. And, you know, it's like she lets slip that the Fire Nation cost her mother. And she is genuinely shocked when Zuko replies, that's something we have in common. Because, yeah, as far as I know, Zuko blames his dad for his mom's disappearance. We don't know for sure she's dead, but that's pretty likely at this point. And, yeah, this is about it's quite clear that that's who he blames for it. So it's kind of fun to get this moment of like them having something in common, like this break, or so that they wouldn't just spend the entire time yelling at each other. It's a good story element to put it in there and have them go, oh yeah, maybe like we have some common ground, and you know we can have Katara and Zuko do something other than just yell at each other the entire like time they're together. It's a good character development there. I really like it. And then we return to Aang and Iroh's group, and Toph is like, you know, she detects the ancient catacombs beneath them. She starts the digging with their earthbending, but then they split up. Aang continues to dig with Iroh, and Toph goes with Sokka to warn the Earth King. We get a really interesting conversation here between Aang and Iroh. Aang is asking Iroh for advice about his dilemma, you know, choosing earthly attachment. He's given up any hope of mastering the Avatar state. Iroh replies that perfection and power are overrated. Perhaps Aang was right to choose happiness and love. It is the more human thing to choose, and, you know, it's the main conflict that Zuko himself is having. Do I choose power and perfection, or do I choose what will make me happy? He, of course, tells Aang that he doesn't have definitive answers. I mean, this is Iroh, he's very wise. He doesn't know what the future will hold, and whether it would be better to be powerful than to have happiness. But, you know, he does know that in order for things to get better, you have to keep moving forward until you find yourself in a better place. If you stand around just wondering all the time what could be, you'll never find what will be, or you'll never make your better future happen. That's a really important bit of philosophy for people to have. That nothing good will happen unless you start moving forward. And then, you know, we go back at this point to Sokka and Toph. They realize the coup has already started, and they move to warn the Earth King, finding him in the palace with two Kyoshi. Toph realizes before Sokka that these aren't real Kyoshi. These are Ty Lee and Mei. Ty Lee, like, takes her usual route of flirting with Sokka, though there's a cute moment at the start where she calls Sokka cutie. You know, I'm like, okay, Sokka has to realize this is Ty Lee. She's called him that like a dozen times. But it's kind of cute because Sokka's all flustered and he's like, I'm kind of with Suki. And I love that. It's an adorable little moment. Too bad it's like with Ty Lee, but you know, I find Ty Lee pretty adorable myself most of the time. Like, she's fun, even if she's the enemy. The fight ends a bit cheaply, though, because it just ends with Azula holding fire to the king's neck and forcing them to surrender. It's at this point that, like, you know, the king and our heroes are dragged away, and Long Fang comes up, ordering the Dai Li to arrest Azula. But then he's apparently surprised to find that they're not following his orders. They're waiting to see which of the two of them comes out in this battle of wills. In the end, Azula basically makes Long Fang bow to her and assumes full control of the Dai Li. And then it's at this point we return to Katara and Zuko talking in the gem caverns. We get a little more insight into Zuko's mind as he laments his mark. Katara saying, after having said to him that, you know, for so long he was the face of the enemy to her. She offers to heal him with the spirit water from the North Pole. Before they can try that, Aang and Iroh break through the wall and into this chamber. Iroh sends the Avatar and Katara away so that he can talk with Zuko in private. He tells Zuko that now is the time where Zuko truly chooses his destiny, to be a force for good in the world, or, as Azula comes in at this point and, you know, traps Iroh and starts, like, talking to Zuko, she offers, you know, submit to me, help me, and once again, like, you know, you can get everything you wanted back from the Fire Nation. You can be your father's true son, etc. And basically, like, you know, offering him a path that will once again make him a face of terror and fear for so many people like Katara. Zuko is thinking about this, and Azula moves on, telling him he's free to choose. We move to her then, confronting the Avatar and Katara in a room that's just chock full of water. But Azula uses her extreme flames to turn the water thrown at her by Katara into steam, and then uses their obscured vision to launch her own counterattack. And just as it seems like the Avatar and Katara, thanks to all the water in the room and their own combined skills, are starting to get the upper hand, Zuko appears and starts helping Azula. Then we go back to Toph and Sokka for a split second. They free themselves and the king easily with Toph's metal banding. I mean, at this point, no current prison would be able to hold her, Between her earthbending and her metal bending, almost all the materials most people use to make prisons, except for maybe like up at the North Pole if they have ice prisons, nothing's going to hold her. And yeah, that was pretty cool. And like Aang and Zuko, like we returned to them, and they're going at it. Like they are fighting in just an impressive display of bending from both sides. And Katara is holding her own against Azula, but it feels kind of weird because of how easily Azula was when Katara attacked her earlier, able to dissipate the water, and now she's having trouble fighting Katara. Katara's skill level and power seem to slide up and down depending on what the writers need at the moment. And it bothers me sometimes because, like, you know, if Azula was able to easily overcome Katara's water, like, you know, not 2 minutes ago, why is she having trouble now? Why isn't she just using her flames to dissipate the water? Story-wise, this is a great fight. But consistency-wise, it feels a little weird to me. And then we move back to the fake Kyoshi, Ty Lee and Mei. In the throne room, Ty Lee's trying to teach the bear some new tricks, you know, how to walk on its front paws. And suddenly her hands are trapped in earth. Her feet hit the ground trying to right herself, and those are trapped too. Toph is really, like, awesome in that bit. Like, you know, just quickly coordinated, hey, we've just trapped Ty Lee, she's out of business. And Mei just seems to decide at this point that it would be too much of a bother to fight them and just goes, just take the bear. I love that. I love how consistent Mei is with her personality. If she thinks something is going to be too much of a bother, she just doesn't do it. She's like, you know what? This is too much. Just take the bear. I don't care. So yeah, really love that scene. It's quick, funny, and fit for all the characters. Now we go back to the big fight, and it looks like Aang has been knocked out for the count by Azula, as they have now switched partners. And Katara is still hanging on, fighting both firebenders together, but she's getting quickly overwhelmed. Aang gets his second win, and it looks like he's about to drive them back, but at the last moment, a Dai Li steps in and throws him off balance. And then, like a moment later again, the full squad of Dai Li join them. And, you know, it's starting to seem rather hopeless. They're going to be overwhelmed. Aang realizes he has no other hope. He finally lets go of his earthly attachment to Katara, and it looks like he's about to enter the Avatar state properly. But then, as he's doing it, he's hit by Azula's lightning, which potentially kills him, which seems like it's killed him. And possibly, since he was in the Avatar state, killed the concept of the Avatar entirely. Iroh covers Katara as she makes her escape with Aang. And once outside and back on Appa and fleeing from the city, she uses the water from the moon spirit well that she had earlier offered to use to heal Zuko's face to save Aang's life. Though at this point there is actually that small potential that possibly his Avatar powers might not have returned with his life. Being the season finale, I won't learn what happened next until I move on to book 3. But that's kind of a dark note to end on. Like, potentially we might have lost the Avatar, but we still got Aang and company. So in my opinion, there's still hope for the world. We end on Azula feeding Zuko more honeyed lies, and the Earth King declaring that the Earth Kingdom has fallen. A very dour ending to Book 2, but that just means that we have farther to rise in Book 3. I look forward to it, and I'll see you next time.